Oh man. It's just everything you want. You would think a drink with cream would be really rich and heavy, but this is not that at all. The Ramos Gin Fizz is the hardest gin cocktail by far, and I mean by far, to master. In fact, it's the hardest cocktail full stop to make, but the rewards are there for someone who manages to do it. It's light, it's fluffy, it's creamy, it's citrusy, it's all of those things at the very same time. It's kind of got this flavor profile like an orange spice for my Aussie viewers, or for my American friends out there, kind of tastes like an orange creamsicle. So I'm gonna share with you some tips, tricks, and hacks how to make this cocktail, whether it's your first time or the 1000th time, and we're starting right now. G'day folks, my name's Tim, and welcome to Tim and Tonic, where we discover the world's best gins and how to drink them. So the Ramos Gin Fizz is basically the souffle of the cocktail world, right? Not only does it look like that when you raise it up above the glass, but also it's really the same concept, you know, it's a really careful balancing act between the different ingredients plus also the method that you use to make it. I'm not really going to talk too much about the history, that's not really my jam, and there's plenty of other videos on YouTube that do a better job of it than me, but I think it's important to touch on it a little bit just to give it some context. Basically, it was invented by a guy called Henry Charles Ramos all the way back in 1888 in New Orleans, and it's said that this drink became so popular at his bar, the Imperial Cabinet Saloon, that he needed 20 bartenders at any time on hand to be able to shake this cocktail. And even with those 20 bartenders, apparently he still struggled to keep up with demand, and you'll understand why, because according to kind of rumors, legend, whatever you have it, it took around 12 minutes to shake each single Ramos Gin Fizz. So you can understand, even with 20 bartenders, they were still struggling to keep up, but lucky for you, I have a few tips and tricks, so I don't think we're gonna need to shake it for quite that long, but let's get started on the ingredients you're gonna need. First up, obviously, you're gonna need some gin. I'm using some Plymouth today, which is great. It's got that classic kind of juniper forward profile, but also some earthiness to ground everything. But the original recipe actually calls for Old Tom gin, but we're going to account for that with the other ingredients. So the gin is the only alcoholic ingredient here. The next thing we're going to need is some cream. Also today I'm using some vanilla syrup. Now the original recipe actually just calls for regular sugar syrup, but I'm using vanilla because one, I don't have that Old Tom, so I wanted to add that extra bit of richness. Secondly, I've also made it as a 2-to-1 syrup, so it's a bit thicker, a bit richer than a standard 1-to-1 simple syrup, just to give it that texture, because I find with this drink, with the soda water, which is the next ingredient, is you don't want to have this drink kind of dilute too much. Now, you can already see that this is a bit of an interesting combo. We've got soda water and we've got cream, but we've also got some citrus, 2 different kinds. We've got lime juice and we've got fresh lemon juice. So you might be starting to understand now why this drink takes so much shaking. You know what happens when you put dairy with citrus, right? Generally speaking, it splits. So you need to really mix together and combine these ingredients so that doesn't happen. But you need one other ingredient to do that, and that is egg whites. That'll help to just bind everything all together. Last but not least, final ingredient which I have for you here to add some more depth, complexity, some orange flavors, some floral flavors, is some orange blossom water. I put it in this dash bottle here so we can really control the quantity that goes into the drink. Alrighty, so let's clear this away, make some space, and then get on with making our cocktail. Okay, now before we start adding all the ingredients, this is the first tip. And the first tip is to make sure you work pretty fast, because the longer you leave the acid sit with the egg white and also the lime juice before you start shaking it, that is gonna let that cream split a little bit. So you don't want that, you don't want a lumpy drink. Before we start mixing it, I'm going to explain to you something that we're gonna do that's a little bit different when it comes to shaking that you might have seen before. Now, a lot of you kind of regular viewers or people that have made quite a few cocktails in your time might have heard of the dry shake before, where with egg whites, you shake it without ice and then with ice. I find with the Ramos, and to be honest, all egg white drinks in general, actually you get a bigger and more stable foam if you do what's called a reverse dry shake. Now, a reverse dry shake is exactly as the name implies. Instead of shaking it without ice first, you shake it without ice second. So shake it with ice first to chill and dilute, and then shake it without ice second to emulsify it. So basically all you gotta do after you've shaken it the first time, strain it off the ice, whack it back into your shaker, shake it again. Like I said, from this point forward, you wanna work relatively quickly, so let's get all these ingredients into the shaker. First up, you're gonna need your gin. So we've got 60 mils or 2 ounces of Plymouth. And next up, we've got 30 mils or 1 ounce of heavy cream. Then we've got 20 mils of our 2-to-1 vanilla syrup. With the orange blossom water in this dasher bottle, I'm gonna put actually a good 3 dashes. And the reason for that is these kind of Japanese style dasher bottles, they actually have quite a narrow neck. So the dashes are quite small and the original recipe calls for 1.25 milliliters. Next we have our citrus, so we need 15 mils each of lemon juice and lime juice. Last ingredient to go into the shaker, we're gonna need a whole egg white. Okay, now I'm just gonna transfer this into my tin shaker because I've been having some trouble lately with this shaker, with the glass sealing properly. I just wanted to show you everything as it goes into the drink, but let's transfer it across and get shaken. So like I said, reverse dry shake, so we're gonna do the ice first. Now here's the second trick, is you can actually hack this drink by starting to emulsify it while you dilute it and chill it as well. And the way you do that is with bigger sized ice cubes. So bigger sized ice cubes will give you much more aeration in your drink than regular sized ice cubes. So I've got this like kind of big, chunky, nice block here, which I'm gonna put straight into the shaker like that. Seems like a waste, but trust me, it's gonna make your Ramos absolutely amazing. And then I'll just top it off with a few extra normal sized cubes just to make sure it chills enough. So let's seal this bad boy up and give it a good shake. You can't see it over there, but if you have a look really inside the shaker, it's actually already super fluffy, but we're gonna dry shake it anyway, just to make sure we get plenty of aeration. Let's strain it off the ice into our shaker. Now I'm just gonna use this shaker that I used before just to dump away all that ice. And let's shake this again. Honestly here, there's a lot of people that kind of shake it with a spring or something like that, but I always kind of feel like that's a lot of extra work and extra mess to clean up, so I don't really find it necessary if you do all the other tips that I've showed you. Now, next thing I do is I always fine strain it before I pour it into the glass, and once I get to that next step, you're gonna see why. The fine straining step here just kills all the bigger bubbles and just makes sure all the silky smooth bits get through. Like I said, we've got to work quite fast here, so the next step is nice chilled glass and also very well chilled soda. What we're gonna do here is a lot of people put the soda water first, but I've found, and seen a few other people do it as well, that if you pour the cocktail and the soda at the same time, it kind of mixes through together better and you get a finer, tighter foam on it. So let's do that. You wanna pour the Ramos though a little bit faster than what you do the soda water. So you might think it's done there, but it's not quite. We want to get that little raising head like a souffle coming out of the glass. So what we need to do, we just need to leave this to settle so that foam can tighten and compact a little bit so that when we lift it up, it's not going to go sideways or anything like that. So a lot of people say 2 minutes in the fridge or the freezer. Personally, this method, you don't really need to leave it that long. 30 seconds enough. Let's time it and wait. Okay, we're back. So that's it. It's settled now. I didn't have to leave it that long. Like I said, only 30 seconds. I can already see a very clear separation of the foam and the drink down there. We've already got a good couple of centimeters of foam, so we're looking good so far. Now, this is the key. A lot of people put more soda water. I already put probably enough soda water, and if you put too much, then it's gonna be a diluted and watery drink, which is not what we want at all. The trick here is to put more of the cocktail instead of soda water is one. I've got a little bit left in my shaker tin, but if we just pour it on the top, that foam is quite solid already. It's just gonna kind of go to the side. So take your straw and poke a little hole in the middle. And that's gonna act as just kind of a little canal, if you wanna call it, to put the cocktail into. So now all we gotta do is gently pour in a little bit of cocktail. Okay, so I didn't get my measurements quite right here, which means I've run out of cocktail to pour in there. So actually in this case, we're going to need a little bit more soda just to lift this up a little bit more. It's tasting pretty good though, I have to say. It's tasting pretty good so far. But you can already see, look, we've already got a little bit above the top. Let's just put a little bit more soda water. Oh, look at that. Look, that's just perfect. Look, it's going up perfectly straight. I have to say, you know, not blowing my own horn here, but look, that's pretty kind of perfect. Look, you can turn it any way you want and it's just dead straight. I could probably, let's see if I'm gonna game it here. I'm gonna risk it and see if we can raise it a little bit further now. Oh, look at that. I don't know. I don't have a measuring tape here to crack it out like some of the other YouTubers do, but that's a pretty awesome looking Ramos. It's perfectly straight. The foam, it's sitting up nice and high. It's not really deep down to the drink, but I mean, come on, that looks pretty good to me. Now, the test always of the good Ramos is if you put the straw in it, does it hold the straw upright? Which, yes, it does. So that's it. We have a Ramos Gin Fizz. The foam, nice and tight. It's holding perfectly. It's not going one way or the other. There you have it. The hardest drink of all time, the Ramos Gin Fizz. I've made a big mess here though, but let's see how it tastes. Oh man, that is actually so good. I have to say, I did tweak my recipe a little bit the last couple of days just before coming on this channel, and this is by far actually the best version of this that I've made. I'm not even saying that, but maybe I went a little bit overboard with the raising of the foam. Now that I drink it, it's kind of sinking down a bit. Oh man, it's just everything you want. You'd think a drink with cream would be really rich and heavy, but this is not that at all. It's light, it's citrusy, it's bubbly, it's fluffy. Oh, it's just so good. So guys, that's it. That's how you make the perfect Ramos Gin Fizz at home. No 12 minutes of shaking, 1 minute, 2 minutes tops. Plus, no fancy equipment. If you want to get that consistent fluffy head, you could also use an immersion blender or a milkshake mixer. Either one of those will work great, but old-fashioned shaking with a good chunk of ice, plus that dry shaking after that you wet shake it, it's gonna work perfectly at home. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more hacks like that, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new videos as they come out. Otherwise, click through the playlist here to check out some of my other cocktail videos, but I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.